Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whenever you happen to be watching and also listening to the non-league Nosh.
We've done it.
We are.
We're online properly now as a podcast.
We have. Well, when I say we, it's all down to this big man over here. Obviously, you guys have been following us for a long time on YouTube, but you have been requesting as the weeks have gone on that you want to have other ways of being able to listen to the podcast, and we've responded. Adam, what sites are we now set up on? Let them all know.
So, had it done so it can all be done on the go. So, TuneIn works, which means that you can use your Amazon-enabled device to shout for some non-league Nosh. I've got one sitting right next to me, so I can't use the word that begins with A to shout the command. I don't know what will happen. Alexa, it's lit up.
She's alive.
No,
she's off. And she's off.
So yeah, I could ask her for some non-league Nosh if I want to. We're also on Stitcher, which I wasn't going to do, and then I looked up and did some research, and apparently it's one of the most popular platforms for podcasting.
Right.
Again, just type in non-league Nosh, and there we are.
And where we go.
And most importantly and most requested is Spotify.
Yep.
And you can follow us on there, and I think you get alerts when the new podcasts come through.
Yep.
At the moment, we're trying to work out how to do this, but we're on a plan where we can only really do about 5 hours a month, which means only the main shows can go on to the platforms at the moment. We're going to see how things go. Future plans might be that literally everything goes up.
Because at the moment the main podcasts are going up on YouTube, they're going up on Podbean, and once they're up on Podbean they then spread out to all of the other sites that we've got. So at the moment the bite-sized Noshes, which are the smaller versions where we have separate topics on top of the main podcast, are not available, but we're working on it. We will find a way of being able to do it. So just stay tuned, and that's it. The main thing is, if you make sure you follow us on Twitter, if you follow the non-league Nosh handle, which I'll put somewhere down here,
or the DeeJam one,
or myself, either way, there will be updates of when we've got different things out and about, because we're in constant communication, so we'll make sure that you guys know about it. But thank you again for your fantastic support and all the comments, everything from last week, because again, you guys have responded. We've got 5 topics to talk about tonight from you. We've got all the results to go through and a little bit of reaction from last week, but I don't think we can start anywhere other than the fact that we have another 2 managerial casualties to talk about. It's big
annoying,
news,
isn't it, to have to start on that for a second week running?
Well, you think, we're not even the end of September and we've now got another 2 to add to the list. Let's start off with your area of expertise, the furlough nun. Yeah. Danny White has gone. Are you, like last time, are you shocked? Did you see it coming, or did you think he was maybe going to stick it out?
I think that's a really hard question. Like, Danny White is like a good manager, and he's had good players through the doors at Thetford, but I for me, they just seem to be serial underachievers. Like, you expect them to, they had top scorer in the league last year, but it doesn't mean they're knocking on the door of the top 8. They were just that little bit behind, and then this season, when everything's got up and running, I've got to admit, the players that I saw them sign in the summer, I was sort of quite nervous. I thought they'd be pretty good.
Yeah, to be honest, so did I.
I thought some teams had some things to be worried about. I thought they'd replaced well, they'd recruited well. Don't get me wrong, you're not going to replace Volta Roca and Kevin Castro at that level very easily. They work well together, they're brothers, for goodness sake.
But
exactly. I thought Danny did really well to find people that were good and performed well in the friendlies as well. The friendlies they did well in, and what shocked me is that after their first league game of the season, nothing has translated, but I don't understand what's really gone wrong. They've got players back there now, like Max Mellenson. When he was there last time, absolute revelation. I think from midfield he scored about 30 odd goals. Yeah. And I thought, do you know what, he's probably just going to drop back into that. He knows how Danny likes to play, and they're going to be away, but nothing has really come off for them.
No, I think obviously when you look at it in terms of the league table and you have a look at some of the results, you can kind of say, well, do you know what, it's to be expected. However, we've talked about it in the past 2 podcasts. they're not getting absolutely hammered every single game. They're not losing by like 5 or 6 nils or.
Their goal differences have been very narrow.
Yeah, it's the fact that they are losing games at such a close, proximity that it's not as if they're getting. Like I said, they're not getting hammered. So for him to suddenly turn around and go, I get, and I'll read his little statement he's made in a moment. It's not as if things have gone drastically wrong. It's the fact that just the performances haven't matched the results. That's the big thing.
It doesn't really matter though what level of like men's football you're at. You can't lose persistently and get away with it. You can't hide from it, and it's a shame because, like I say, like Thetford's a good club with good things going on, and Danny's decent as well. So, like, it's just a bit of a shame, like especially at this point in the season. But in my mind, I know the statement from him was that he wanted better results and stuff. But
all he has said on here, because I've got the statement kind of next to me, it is with great sadness and regret that I've decided to resign from my position as first team manager of Thetford. Unfortunately, results haven't been good enough, and I take full responsibility for that. There's a great set of lads who will turn it around. And he's then said on his own personal Twitter page on here as well. That was his statement rather. Thetford have said, Danny Watt has announced he will resign from the club as a position of the manager after the next week midweek fixture. The club wishes to thank Danny for taking the club to 2 finals over the past 3 years and the time and effort. That's the thing. He has had success. The club has done very well underneath him. And yes, things have not gone particularly great this season, but I still think that there was scope for him to turn that result around.
In that League Cup final that we watched, I'm not sure if it was a League Cup. It was a Norfolk-based cup.
Yes, it was the Norfolk Senior Cup, wasn't it?
They were brilliant.
Yeah, they were. They were really good.
They took DeeJam all the way and gave them a really good game.
Yeah, definitely.
And tactically, that game was managed perfectly.
Yeah, 100%.
Absolutely 100%. Perfectly. So you know that the ability's there, but it's good to see a manager standing up and saying,
"Enough's enough."
I take responsibility for it. He's backed in that statement. He has backed his players.
Yeah,
100%. He's still said that they can turn it around, and
definitely
no one's been thrown under the bus in that, and I think that's a great way to go.
Yeah, it'll be very interesting to see how the club kind of moves forward after this, because of the success he has had. It's a very hard job to kind of but replace such a successful manager such as Danny. But we wish him and the club
100%.
all the best. And another, I kind of saw this one coming more, to be honest, but Westerfield made the announcement that Stuart is leaving the football club. They've just simply said the club would like to place on records their thanks for Stuart and for Dean for the hard work and 100% commitment during their time at the club. Very sorry to see both of you go and wish you every success going forward. Stuart made he's made a statement as well on Twitter. After 6 years of the ups and downs of local football management, today was my last game as manager for a great club in Westerfield. So 6 years is a long time, especially, any level of football, to be honest. A brilliant club and people who have the club's best interests at heart. Very tough times for the club, but those people there will be fine. Saw it coming. A lot of people have started to jump ship. And I'm talking player-wise.
Week before last, wasn't it?
Yeah.
2 weeks ago it started.
We saw it kind of unravelling on Twitter. There was a few...
We accidentally sort of said that someone was 40 when they're actually...
Yeah, that was our bad. We were given wrong information. Let's put it that way, from sources, etc. But ages aside, the fact that a manager and assistant manager having to step in to help out a playing squad is bad at any level of the game.
So saying there was like desperate times, desperate measures.
Yeah,
not got players, so go to what we can do,
and
they stepped up.
And the amazing thing from that game is the fact they went 2-0 up. I mean, I know they lost 10-2, but they were 2-0 up. That in itself is incredible. But at the end of the day, this is part-time management. It's part-time football. It's it's not even part-time, it's amateur football, let's face it. You as an individual have to think of yourself and your mental health and your mental well-being. And if after 6 years you've seen this happen, I just think, how much of it can you take really. It's tough, isn't it?
I hope they go on to find another position after they've had time to step away from it all for a bit.
Yeah.
Because they're good lads. They're obviously deeply involved in it as well. To do it for 6 years, like, it's a massive disappointment, really, to have to step away after 6 years.
It's just a shame that's how it's ended.
Westerfield have had a tough start to the season.
Yeah, really have.
I don't know, how did they run last year?
They started off well and then kind of tailed off towards the end of the season. I think
they drifted a bit.
Yeah, I think you could say, I'm trying to remember who the other team was that's been in a very similar situation recently, but you can kind of say that this had been coming for a period of time. But you know, it's, as I said, it's never nice. It's never.
I think with what we know though as well, with players walking away, that's going to be a difficult job to fill.
It is very difficult.
Someone's going to have to come in with a bit of background knowledge on people that can be recruited to start building that again. And the players that are there and remain, the core, they're going to have to really hang tight and step up and show a bit of leadership around it. But I have no doubt that they'll want to do it.
Yeah.
Whatsoever. It's just possibly like in recent history, it could be like a really big task for them. Those boys will be scrapping for relegation if things don't pick up drastically in the next sort of 8 weeks. So.
Definitely. Really tough. We never like to see it. We never like to talk about it, but we had to get it out to begin the podcast with. Another 2 managers leave their positions. Tough.
Don't have any more go this week, please.
No more. No more, lads. Stay.
A positive note next week.
That's it. Stay put. So now we move on to the part of the show where we go back over some of the comments that you guys have left on the previous videos. We got quite a few responses based around the training question that we asked.
Yeah,
a question I didn't honestly expect to get the answers that he got. I thought people would be more interacting with other questions that were asked last week, but the training one went down a real storm. But before we talk about that one, we had Ryan Johnson make a comment based on the step 3 restructuring. We got quite a few people on Twitter I got a couple saying, why are we talking about this again? It's already been restructured. How many times can it keep happening?
I saw that. I think
we were asked the question.
Squeeze East also put something out. Almost thinking like we were single-handedly actually going to campaign for the thing to be restructured.
Like Suffolk football.
I think like
pitchforks.
Getting it across clearly. If my message last week wasn't clear, trying to do it would be the most stupid thing ever, because it would mean everything nationally would have to change.
Yeah.
And within a couple of seasons, the teams that were struggling and got sorted out would end up struggling again because of promotion.
Yeah. But the point of this podcast is that if people ask us questions, we answer them.
Yeah, let's find a resolution to it. But
that's it.
Please don't think we're going to have like picket boards outside Suffolk FA, because it's not happening.
They're treating our clubs unfairly. That kind of. No, it's not happening.
There are going to be no like fires in bins with us warming our hands.
No, exactly.
I've got to go and earn money. I can't afford to strike outside Suffolk FA.
No.
They'd probably just run over us.
Probably, especially now that McDonald's has been built right near there. It's in the traffic. We're not going into that. We're not talking about that.
Just imagine the calorie consumption of the people at Suffolk FA now.
Yeah, it's on your lunch break, isn't it? That's it.
Good grief.
So Ryan Johnson said, do you think your league should be divided into counties? No. Simple answer. No.
Honestly, you can't.
No, you can't, because it gets to a certain limit where you need to branch out.
It's like Norfolk would be an interesting one.
I think you think like Kings Lynn, Dereham, people like all around the Norwich area. You've got Yarmouth, I suppose, Lowestoft.
Swaffham, that are quality-wise.
Yeah, Swaffham.
Like, so that would be an interesting one. But again, Kings Lynn would clearly run away with it.
Well, Norwich would.
I don't really think Norwich is going to drop down to this level now.
Well, you never know. They might want to win some silverware for a change.
I love that joke coming from a Norwich fan with his empty trophy cabinet.
Old farm banter.
Yeah.
So yes, thank you, Ryan, but no on that one. So the other responses we got, we had a brilliant one from Brian Vella, and I'm going to try and read this out.
This is long, but it's actually really well reasoned, and this is what I've gone through, which I think it is. It's a brilliant response to the question.
So we had the question posed to us: is it important to have a structured regime in charge for training, or is it important to vary things up? So Brian has said, as a manager and a coach moving to a new team over the summer, I agree that you have to be adaptable. After weeks of pre-season training and a couple of pre-season friendlies, I felt the need to change the formation of a team that it was previously accustomed to. So that's quite interesting. The funny thing is, though, that the system they used to use previously is the same system I favour. I think it's important to line up to the best characteristics your players have and work with it. You can then gradually implement a new system by getting the players to work in a certain way, or get the right players in to adapt your favourite playing style. Your philosophy of football should not change, though. It is just the way that your team manoeuvre on the pitch. As for training, I am accustomed to freshening things up every season. The good point about this is that the players like new things. Players like to come to training not knowing what they're going to face. Players like to be challenged, etc. However, after many years of coaching, I'm beginning to realise that repetition is also very key. It is good to work on a passage of play 1 week for an hour, but for things to bed in, you need to practice, and repetition is the only way of having an hour-long training session a week. This cannot work, or may work way down the line, so I'm beginning to change my ways of thinking. Long and short of it, you got to do both.
It's got to be a blend.
It's got to be a mixture of both. If you stick to a structured regime, as he quite rightly said, the players will get bored, get disinterested, training becomes a chore rather than something to enjoy. You then come along to a match day, there's no fluidity, there's no fun to playing. But then the other way, you have things constantly change. You turn up on a match day, you haven't got a clue what's going on.
I had a thought about all of this since last week's podcast.
Do tell. Do tell.
So, in the Premier League...
Here we go.
Right. You know players for being out-and-out strikers.
Yes.
You know players for being defensive midfielders. That's what they do. Mm-hmm. That's their role.
Yeah, yeah.
If if we saw Aaron Cresswell...
Right.
Left back.
Yes, I'm aware of who Aaron Cresswell is. Yeah, thank you.
Every week. Put in an attacking midfield role...
Right.
Slotted behind two strikers.
Okay.
You'd wonder what on earth was going on.
Yes, possibly.
At this level of football that we discuss week in, week out, if you were a player and you were a left back and you were said, we need you to play in the attacking midfield role today, just get in between players.
Yeah.
Just, practice just like the drills we've done. You'd just do it.
Yeah.
You'd have the adaptability to just do it, whereas I think like the question weighs up a little bit of luxury versus just dealing with what you're given. Some clubs, even at lower levels, have the luxury of having players that are naturally adaptable for a few positions, but also squad size is big enough. I saw several squads at the start of the season lining up with about 20 to 23 players, which I believe is too many to manage at a non-league level.
Very true.
And then as you... Gym United are a good one to call out. They've got a massive squad of players. They're Sunday League.
Yeah, they have,
huge squad of players that they can manage. So if they haven't got someone available for a position, they can drop someone else into that same position that's still natural. But a lot of clubs would they'd just feel that they'd plug those gaps from other points in their squad, and you wouldn't really argue. You'd go with what you'd seen in training. If you had an chance on goal, you'd have a pop.
Very true.
You wouldn't really care.
Good point.
Sometimes people just turn up to get a game anyway.
Yeah, true.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I pay my subs, so just get me on. I don't really care what I'm doing. I'll go and goal if you want.
I suppose it depends as well what level of the game you're at and what kind of a coach you want to be. If you're someone who wants to develop and go up through the tiering, then I suppose it is quite important to have a very adaptable
methodologies. And,
Whereas if you're quite happy, do you know what? I'm at furlough none, for example. This is going to be my level. I'm happy with it. I'm just going to get something that I know is going to work at this particular level of football. Then maybe, but I suppose it depends on you as a coach as well.
I saw
it varies, doesn't it?
I can't remember who Stowe Reserves played this week, but they won by a considerable margin. I can't remember what it was. And there was some jokey comments about the goalkeeper. I looked into it. It turned out the goalkeeper that they played against was actually a centre-back, I believe.
Oh, right, okay.
But he just went in goal because there wasn't a goalkeeper available. There were no spare goalkeepers, so someone else just stands in. And the comments genuinely were like, you were pretty much the best player on the pitch. you made so many saves. Like, people can do it. People can adapt. And you see things in training, and you'll go for it.
Yeah,
it's not as consequential, I don't think, in amateur football is at a higher tier.
No.
I use the Premier League just as an example because I could pull a few players that I know categorically play in positions. But you know, if a team didn't have a goalkeeper, you wouldn't see Aguero go in goal for a week.
No, very true, very true. But great comment from Brian. Really do appreciate that. That's probably one of the most thought out answers we've ever had on the show. And then Ben Moore said, have a way of playing is key, and to implement it in pre-season and through training is important. Having a look at your opponents is key to see if they see their weaknesses and how to work on how to hurt them during training sessions building up to the next game. So I suppose having your way of playing, but then also having a way of being able to hurt the opposition is an
scouting's difficult though at this level.
It's very difficult when you don't know when clubs vary from, from game to game.
You know, you'll go to see a club one week and you'll turn up and it's like, oh, X, Y, and Z are missing. Why is that? Oh, they're at a music festival with their mates.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think there's any way of really like preparing, because the next week those 3 players will be back and they'll ravage you.
But then again, it then does come back to who you're playing against and what type of manager they are. They might have a rigid way of playing that doesn't matter what personnel are there. They're going to be playing the same type of football.
Yeah.
Whereas somebody else might go, well, do you know what? We've got 3 players missing today, but this is a great opportunity because I'm going to pick him, I'm going to pick him, and I'm going to pick him, and we're going to play a little bit differently today.
Yeah.
So,
I guess so. I think it's really easy at a lower level of football to shine as an individual if you are a big margin ahead of your peers.
Yeah.
Like, everyone knows there's a few like different non-league teams at different levels throughout that have the odd player that is very special, and without that player,
the team falls apart.
The team does crumble a little bit.
Definitely.
And there's definitely times when I've seen that.
Yeah, definitely.
Worth a thought.
Yeah. But thanks for getting, obviously your comments in. No matter what topic we talk about, if you leave your comments and your questions down below, we will answer them. So, let's move on to the questions.
Okay, what we got then?
So, today we're going to start off with Ben's question. We normally leave him till last, but we're going to start off with his question.
He can start today. He doesn't have to wait till the whole podcast is over before
we don't.
He gets in.
We're going to let you, we're going to kick things off with your question. So, topic for next week. Any management team you would love to play for in the Touchline SIL? And have you got any family connections in the Touchline SIL? With me, I've got an uncle who plays for Wickham Market called Curtis Pryke, and my great-granddad Bob Coleman, who obviously has the cup. Well, first of all, no, don't really have any family connections in the SIL. We've both got a couple of mates who play for teams at SIL level, in particular Sports and 87, and I know a few lads. For example, Dale Niblo, who plays for Stowe Falcons, was in my year at school, who actually gave me my nickname throughout middle school and high school, so cheers, Dale. But no family connections, to be honest. My dad was from Norwich, Norfolk area, so didn't play for anyone around this particular level. But what about you?
My cousin's girlfriend plays for Ipswich Town Ladies.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, so...
But nothing from the SIL?
No, not really.
No.
Don't think I've got the genetics for it in our family.
No.
So, but in terms of friends and that, like, just same really as what you've said. Like, we share a similar friendship group anyway. So, it's a bit like on that. We can't really give a very exciting answer there because
unlike Ben, who can give a hell of an answer.
Yeah,
he's a great, two great connections there.
It's I mean, that's something to be quite like. Obviously, didn't your cousin have something to do with Debenham?
Mike, he was the manager of Debenham, Leon Moore. He's now one of the coaches for Whittam.
Oh, okay.
So that's a family connection, I guess. Not at SIL level, but
no.
Yeah, there's that. And one of my cousins did used to play for Felixstowe.
Right.
He was in part of their youth system. I don't really know what he's up to at the moment. I haven't spoken to him in a couple of months. But
it's really odd. Like, I had friends at school. Like, I'm a few years older than you, obviously. I don't know if you can tell from my aged skin or if my paper round just treated me well. But like, I had friends who went through the academies and stuff. And I've got friends at work who have been through academies at Ipswich and that when they all got swallowed up, and they've all just dropped out of football through injuries and just lost interest. Several of them, made it far enough to be classed as professional in my eyes. They had their name on Football Manager, so that's the step that's far enough to count as professional. One of the lads I work with at the moment, he got a contract. He was there when Carlos Edwards was captain and stuff, going through the youth system.
Right.
Got several injuries, but now he doesn't even watch football.
Yeah.
He hates it so much and hates everything else.
It's weird how that happens sometimes, isn't it? Just lose complete focus and interest on it. Yeah,
I've tried to invite him to come and watch a game so many times, but the whole system and how he was treated at that level and
it's just ruined it for him.
Yeah, just doesn't enjoy it. And he was a decent player, a really good player, but he just hasn't. He doesn't even really play with mates or anything anymore.
No, that's it.
Which is really weird.
So let's go back to the first part then. Any management team we'd like to play for in the SIL? I know who I'd like to play for in the honestly the furlough.
I'd just go along to anyone that would accept me.
I couldn't. From an SIL perspective, no. I don't really know people's coaching styles well enough to answer that. However, from a furlough none perspective, I'd very much like to play for Needham Reserves. Kevin Horlock.
Yeah,
I can imagine that would be very, very, very. What's the word I'm looking for?
You'd learn a lot.
Yeah, considering I can't think of the word I'm now trying.
Educational.
That's the one.
Yeah.
God,
someone needs some education here, don't they?
I had a complete mind blank there. But yeah, I can imagine playing under him would be quite good.
Yeah, I mean, it's difficult because I look at things that I'd want from a manager if I played for someone. And I look back at something I said last week around Dis, that I know they've set their reserves up with a path to a first team. Wouldn't that be a good thing to do rather than I've got this thing in my mind where I'm thinking who would I like to play for? I think of my own ability and I don't think I'd like to play for anyone because I get absolutely drilled to be. I'll be doing laps every week.
I just wish that I had somebody around me when I was growing up and going through the system where someone said to me, stop being so immature, this is how things are done. Because I wasn't the best player in the world, I'm not going to toot my own horn or anything, but I played for Stowe Falcons youth team, went through all of that. I moved on to Battersford, very similar to yourself. I then went and played for Sport in '87. I was in their reserve team, fell out with the manager and then just gave up. And I wish someone at the time had just gone, look, don't be so stupid. Because, I could not be doing this and I could be in the SIL setup still.
Yeah.
I could still be playing for someone if I'd kept going with it.
I definitely think immaturity and not having, despite my dad's love for football, and it's not something that's his fault at all, but he pushed me to really be involved and help me so much. But I got to this point as a teenager where I kind of just wanted to do whatever I wanted to do. And if I would have had the maturity to turn around and say, well, football's what I wanted to do, that's what I always wanted to do as a kid.
Yeah.
And not just think, oh, this is a slog every Saturday to turn up.
I think you just get to a point where a lot of people just enjoy playing with their mates more. I mean, that was my big thing. Every Saturday and Sunday, my mates got down the park and played football. So I'd rather be with them rather than turning up to those games.
I don't know. I'm still the same now. Where I'm really guilty of liking something for a short period of time,
losing interest
in what I was doing. So I picked up a tennis racket and got massively involved in tennis for about 3 or 4 years, and I was doing really, really, really well at tennis. And then I gave up on that as well. And
I'm very similar in that effect.
And then I don't really know what I did. I don't know. And then there's that stage where my dad managed a team, and he managed them for 2 seasons, because by the time the second season came round, they did really well in the first year, but all the lads started getting girlfriends and just couldn't be bothered to turn up anymore. And he just said, what's the point?
Yeah,
he's going to put all the hard work in. If no one's going to bother turning up or whatever, and he's losing all the best players, what's the point? And that bit of guidance would have been good. I don't know who could offer me the help and support I need to get my massive chunk of muscle back in shape. But it would need to be...
If anyone would like to offer either of us that service, that would be fantastic.
If anyone's got a lot of patience, a spare pair of boots hanging around, and isn't too worried about conceding a few goals, I'll come and try out.
Do you know what would be actually really fun? I know we're going off on a massive tangent. We've completely gone off Ben's question, original one. Me and you going along training for someone.
Yeah, that would be fun.
No, but I'm like, obviously the club. Die. No, but the club would, they would know we're not going along there to compete for a first team place, but just to go along to a training session, just to see what it's like. I think that might be quite,
James, no.
No? All right. Okay. Just a suggestion.
We could try it, but honestly,
I think we'd both die. But I've
got some brand new goalkeeping gloves next door, which I haven't got a chance to use yet, so I could get my hand back on the ball.
Yeah.
You never forget how to dive around a bit, do you?
No. Well, that's something to think about. Let's move on to the next question. Question 2 comes from Henley Athletic.
Yeah, cheers, boys.
You've seen this question already, haven't you?
Yeah.
How does Adam feel about his Senior Cup predictions?
I wouldn't take any of them back.
No. Well, I'll tell you what. We're going to go through some of the results of the leagues later on. But shall we have a look at these predictions? Yeah. Oh, we've got pen and paper. Trusted pen and paper.
I say I wouldn't take any of them back. I'd probably take back the one that we tried to predict after the event of the game.
Yes, yeah.
We completely missed because it took us a long while to find the fixtures.
Well, the problem is, and I'm gonna tell everyone what happened here. We got a lot of comments based on this. Suffolk FA had not updated their website with the first round fixtures and when they were out. So we were on the internet for probably about 20 minutes trying to find what fixtures are taking place this weekend. Because you can look at the full-time FA website, but the fixtures, because obviously different leagues, they're kind of all over the place. So I wanted a site that said, right, these are the fixtures. We found it.
It was on a historical Leiston page. That's where I got them from.
Exactly. So we got the draw, missed out the game. Apologies, but
it was a proper amateur error. But
yeah,
honestly, going through this podcast, you're going to see some amateur errors happen every
week.
Oh yeah,
100%, 100%.
Or hear some amateur errors if you're now on the Spotify platform.
Yes, exactly. So let's go through some of the results that happened over the weekend. Then let's look at the Senior Cup ones. We'll then go back to your questions, and then we'll go through the rest of the results later on. Yeah. So this is purely Suffolk Senior Cup action. So we had Sudbury beating Felixstowe Reserves 4-2. Needham 5, Leiston St Margaret's 0. Ipswich Town Youth 1, Bilston Rangers 0. Henley 4, Haverhill Borough 3, which I'm thinking this is what the hat is responding to. Bungay 0, Framlingham 3, Trimley 4, Westerfield 1. Achilles 0, Lakenheath 2. Debenham and Bramford Athletic Reserves finished 0-0, but a win on penalties for Debenham. Crane Sports 2, East Burgold 0. Benall St Mary 2. Bournevale 5, Copplestonians 5, Beccles 2, Leiston Reserves 8, Bramford 1.
We need to hold our hands up there. We got that very, very
called that one wrong. Old Newton 3, Waveney 1, Capel Plough 0, Cornard 3, Ipswich Wanderers 2, Claydon 1, and then the game earlier on, a couple of weeks earlier on, was Kirkland Painful Reserves 1, Hawley 0. So we have looked at the results, what we predicted each, what the result was. And we both got 9 out of... How many is there? Let's have a look.
16.
16?
Yeah.
9 out of 16 is not bad.
It's not not bad. But I wouldn't use us if you're trying to start a betting syndicate either.
Oh, God, no. No.
I feel like we made some drastic errors.
Well, I mean, we both predicted that Bungay would beat Framlingham, and Framlingham won 3-0, so that was a big no-no against us.
They're having a difficult start. That's good for them.
Yeah. We both said Hawley, and Kirkley won, and we got...
Kirkley had already won.
And we still didn't know that result. We both said Felixstowe Reserves would beat Sudbury Reserves. Sudbury won. Let's have a look. Trimley, no, we got that one right. Debenhams, Cranes, we got those right. Ipswich right, Copplestonians right. We both said Bramford to beat Leiston Reserves, and Bramford lost 8-1, so that's a big no-no. And then we just kind of both went for odd results here and there, but
I'll take 9 out of 16 to start with.
Henley result. How are you feeling about that one? Should we move on?
I like the fact that they took the time to come back to me.
Which is superb.
And just rub it in a bit that I got it wrong. But they were losing 3-1.
They were. Great turnaround to pull that game back. So fair play to them.
Yeah, well done.
We'll move on. Question 3 comes from the Swindon Devils Championship Manager Football Club.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah, it's a virtual league thing that they run.
They posted in a question a couple of weeks ago, didn't they? They did. So, how big a role could non-official media outlets such as podcasts, blogs, vlogs, etc., run by fans be for non-league clubs who perhaps don't get the attention they need or deserve? Massive. I think it's going to be one of the main ways that non-league survives, to be honest.
Non-league seems to absolutely love all this kind of stuff. Like, because they haven't had the attention before. Like, the evolution of digital media, if I like to put it that way, it sounds a bit poncy, but like, do you know what I mean? Like, digital media is changing, and like it's getting more and more accessible. People like ourselves can sit like ourselves on my sofa and just talk about it for a while, and then people out there can hear all about it. And we had a comment on maybe the first podcast we ever did, and someone tuned in and just put, I really like watching stuff like this, so I get to hear in detail about teams that I've never heard of before. Yeah. And that's really interesting.
It's incredible, isn't it?
I don't know, maybe we'll just say one snippet about a club one week that will inspire someone just to go and follow them on Twitter. It's just all about that casual growth. Yeah. And
well, let's face it, if me and you weren't talking about this now in front of the camera, this is exactly the same conversation as what we'd be having on WhatsApp and Facebook Messenger and when we meet up face to face. We have these conversations literally all the time, don't we?
Yeah.
That's why we did the podcast, because we thought, well, we're having this conversation already. Let's just bring it to the masses and see how people react.
Record the absolute nonsense that we talk between ourselves and let people critique us on it.
And they do. Christ above. It's crucial. It is crucial because, let's face it, modern media as it is now have focused so much towards the Premier League. The Championship gets a little bit of coverage in this country because of Sky covering it, etc.
But I think that's even increasing though, isn't it? Like with the Athletic coming out, the focus on top tier football has actually magnified maybe this season.
It has. So, even clubs in League One and League Two are kind of being forgotten about. The Vanarama has BT covering it, so they get a little bit of media coverage. But
backside to ever find a game.
Yeah, but the rest of the game is just been, quite frankly, ignored. And I had loads of people talking to me about the SIL and said that, I don't want to toot my own horn again, but people said that until you came along, we'd been forgotten about.
It's like the people used to buy the green, didn't they, in this area? And it used to have a little write-up and stuff. Like, I haven't bought that newspaper for a very long time, but I don't know if people, do they still have a little write-up? Does someone write up for every team?
I don't think it does, because it goes online now, doesn't it? But people have to post in from their clubs, don't they?
But surely there's like a market out there at the moment for a contributory type site whereby everything could be collated, like a report from every team's game each week. I mean, like, I tried to start that off to some extent with ftgig.co.uk, and the amount of work it takes for one individual to do it with your support was unreal.
It is a lot.
I was barely keeping it afloat with 6 hours a night.
Yeah.
Every single night, and it got to the point where I had to cut a cord on it because it got silly. Like, the time investment with no return, and the financial investment that was going into it as well was enormous. But if you dilute that down with one reporter from every single club that could feed in, and then the person in the middle was just collating it online, it would be viable.
But it's very similar to the YouTube channel. People think that just because it's on YouTube it's making money. It's not.
It really doesn't.
It's really not making. Trust me, if I was on YouTube to make money, I would not be covering non-league football. Fact. No, just absolutely straight out.
James is a huge fan of Minecraft, and I'm sure he could swing his axe about for a little bit. And
cut. But we done the Premier League reaction, Premier League prediction video. Got absolutely stupid response.
That video went absolutely off, and we said, like, should we do a Premier League weekly podcast? And it's still being thought about. We haven't said yes or no to it, haven't we? But within about 5 days, we hit about 1,200 views on that.
Yeah. So, if you're doing this, if you're thinking about doing this kind of thing for the money, it's not really there. You've got to have a passion for it. You can't just go into it because that's something to do.
Do it because you enjoy it anyway.
Exactly. It's got to be something you're passionate about, isn't it? I don't care if especially
you've got
at
10
this level.
subs or 10,000 subs. If you're there and you're passionately doing whatever you're doing, help a club out, do something for them. I've got people that I've met in this community that have started doing it. And this podcast is very humbly recorded on an iPhone 5, I think that is, of yours, right? And some clip-on mics in terms of the setup that we've got. We haven't spent thousands and thousands of pounds on equipment to get stuff out there. We're using what we've got to make content that we believe is right, and it's accessible to all is the point I'm trying to make.
But it is massively important for the future of non-league football. Great question there from Swindon Devils. Half and half scarves. Given the amount of money sloshing around in the Premier League, should those clubs be forced to contribute a yearly levy to help fund grassroots / non-league football? Do you want to kick this off? Do you think they should?
Yes, I quite strongly think they should. It's difficult to know what level that money should go in at, though. Should it go into junior football, or should it go into club level, and how far does that go? If you made them contribute an amount of money, where does that stop? How much money is it? And then considering how many clubs there are, how far down the pyramid are you then going to distribute? Because if you think of how many clubs enter the FA Cup,
a lot,
at the initial stage, it's you're getting 700 or so enter at the initial stage. It would worry me that I don't know how much a consequential fund would be each year, but I suppose if every team got say $5,000 or something, it would mean a lot more to some clubs than others.
This is going to be controversial, but I don't think they should.
I'm absolutely shocked you've said that.
Really? Yeah. Really? I don't think they should.
What, even with clubs absolutely on their knees?
It's not the club's responsibility to start doing that. It's if the Premier League, as a organisation, want to do it, then it should fall on the Premier League, not the clubs involved. And it also, that ship has
fall on the FA then.
That's exactly what I was about to say. The FA has got to start taking responsibility of it. They have lost the Premier League forever. They gave up what was Division 1, Division 2, Division 3, the old style football, when it was good. They gave up ever having any involvement in the top leagues whatsoever when they signed that deal over to the Premier League and to Sky. They gave it up.
It's not just
They've lost control of that. They've absolutely lost control of that league. They can't force the Premier League to pump money back into grassroots football. So they've got to be doing it themselves. They say that they're doing a lot. I think a lot of people would question that they are not doing enough. That's not for me to say yes or no on that part. But for the question that we were asked, I don't think it's down to the clubs. Because if you think about it from, let's say, for example, a supermarket perspective, the corner shops down the road are really struggling. Should Tesco start pumping money into that corner shop? They're in the same industry. They're competing for the same thing.
I guess so.
Costa Coffee, right? Okay, that little coffee shop down at Stowmarket, the one that sits on the corner now, when it was in the estate agents. If that suddenly starts underperforming, should Costa Coffee start chipping in some money for that? Go on, here you go. Here's 10 grand to keep it going.
Those corner shops though have access to the goods which the top tier shops can access to some degree.
So do non-league clubs.
I don't think they have access.
Non-league clubs have access to every single player that's around in this particular area. But Costa are going to get the better option, and so are teams around this area, like Ipswich, for example.
If there was a deal that for every Sky package, no, not Sky package, for every TV package sold to the league, and that would include the international ones and the UK ones, 10% of that bid fee had to go into grassroots football, then no club would lose out. It would slightly reduce the TV levy, and the money would be in the bid fee. The FA could actually govern it, and then if there was a clause on that money that it had to be spent on facilities, not players, so that some team didn't receive their $5,000 and then just run out and buy something, because that would be daft. If it had to be proven to be like a transactional grant to, I don't know, improve the clubhouse roof because it had got a leak. So something that would be expensive, and we see all these teams fundraising every single year. I quite look forward to actually featuring one when we see something crop up to see what's going on and have a chat about it and how they're doing it. Capel Plough did a big fundraising drive last year. It would be really, really good to see money handed over that just is being taken out of that portion of. There is too much money from TV sales.
There is.
Some of that can go.
There is, but the original question, going back to it, it's not the club's fault. The clubs are being given that money.
Do you know what
I mean? It's not their responsibility to take care of non-league football. It's the FA. It is. The TV companies have got to take responsibility for it as well. They won't, because it's money. They don't care. They're getting their money in every single week and every month, whatever the case may be. They don't care what happens to Chester, who went out of business. They don't care what happened to Russian and Diamonds when they went out of business. You see what I mean? They don't. Why would they care? Why would they care? Why do Costa Coffee care if another coffee shop down the road goes out of business? They don't care.
They're cutthroat enough to actually want people to go out of business, aren't they?
Well, yeah, but I'm picking on Costa Coffee because that's just the first thing that pops into my head at the moment. I've got such a coffee addiction, but that's by the by. Do you know what I mean? I don't think it's the club. I don't think it's the club's responsibility.
Why do banks get bailed out then by the government?
Because the governments are idiots.
But then surely the FA, because they're idiots as well at times, could bail out football teams based on that logic.
Well, they could do, but they won't, because they'll just go, well, it's not our responsibility. You should have kept your finances in order, shouldn't you?
But that's the thing. That's where taking money from somewhere else that isn't directly out of clubs, looking for a compromise. You could have a bailout plan and package in place, but then there's the fear that it'll be abused because everyone's like, oh well, there'll be the money if we go tits up anyway.
The thing is with a lot of clubs is that they're owned by one individual person now. They're not owned by like a committee of people,
like a consortium.
So the FA will never step in and go, right, that one person who now has control of that club, here's $50,000 or $100,000 to save the club.
Yeah,
because that person could quite easily take it. It's a very complicated. It's a very complicated subject.
Football ownership, though, in general, is in a bit of a muddle anyway.
Oh God, let's not get started on that because we could be here all day. But
no, but what I'm trying to get at with it is that if the club isn't owned and in good hands, that money that could go into grassroots football would probably get misused anyway.
Yeah,
and
I mean, it might be.
I'm trying to get to.
Yeah, it's an interesting topic. Like I said, I don't think it's the club's responsibility. Adam maybe thinks that it's a broader.
I think there's a workaround for it.
It's everyone's responsibility to take care of it. But what do you think? Should Premier League clubs contribute towards non-league football? Let us know. Let us know in the comments.
Thinking about that, actually, just coming back to it.
Here we go.
I reckon if that ever did happen, they'd make it a percentage of the club's net profits, and it wouldn't be a fixed figure to make it fair. Because if you think,
well, not every club's going to go, oh well, we didn't make a profit this year. We didn't make that much of a loss that we are in accordance with financial fair play, but we didn't make enough of a profit that we can start giving money out to non-league football. Well, that's what I mean. Well,
just imagine like Norwich's ability to fund that versus, say, Manchester United's, if it was at a fixed fee.
All the clubs are going to do, they'll turn around and go, we're quite happy to do that, but we get first dibs on your players.
Yeah,
they're going to want something in return, aren't they?
Everyone will become a feeder club, won't they?
Yeah, exactly. You don't just give money out for the sake of it.
I wish people did.
Oh yeah, gotcha. That'd be great. Good question, though. I was going to
say that started
really great question on that one. So that brings the questions part to an end. Let's look at some league tables. Starting off with, as we always do, the Vanarama National North.
I like to start at the top and work
away down. Great, exactly, yes. Kings Lynn, no league action for them, but they drew in the cup, didn't they?
I'm not going to announce any results anymore unless I know what's going on. I don't dare. I don't want any more backlash.
But they were in action in the Cup. Again, no action for teams in the BetVictor Southern Premier League Cup. We did have some midweek games going on the Tuesday. Leiston lost 4-0 against Biggleswade. Let's have a look at some other non-league teams.
Leiston lost 4-0 to Biggleswade. Was that the first game in charge as well?
I think that might well have been.
Where have they dropped in the league?
Well, Leiston, they were always bottom,
they
weren't
were
they?
bottom. Okay,
yeah,
right.
so
I'm not rubbing that in. I wasn't sure if they were just
no, but there's not been any games. There was a cup action for those guys as well. This is where things start to really heat up. We're moving into the Isthmian North Division, where on Saturday, big results. We looked at this one before we came on. Cambridge City beating Coggleshall 3-2. That's a huge
in the league result. With where people are at the moment. That can't actually be underestimated how big a result that is. And Bury Town got a massive win against DeeJam. Now,
away from home, they were 2-1 down at half time.
Yeah,
and won 3-2. That is huge.
But what Bury have now done is they've opened up a couple of points of a gap early on in the season. The thing that is against them is there's a couple of teams around them that do have games in hand just because of how fixtures have worked out. But
they're up to seconds now. They're only 1 point off the top. Moulton and Tiptree having a great start to the season.
Reasonable goal difference as well for Bury. They're not short of goals at Rammeadow this year, I don't think. So,
and my brother actually went along to their game. I'm just going to get the fixture up here. They played midweek.
They had a big one against Sudbury,
yeah,
didn't
they played midweek against Sudbury.
We were going to go, and then work called, and I couldn't have another night out.
That's it. But Bury won 3-0 against Sudbury. He said, this was his words, Bury were very efficient at what they were doing, and he said that Sudbury didn't seem to have a game plan. He couldn't figure out how they were trying to play, so that was very interesting. That was one of the first non-league games.
Advantage of then, isn't it?
Yeah, one of the first games he went to at non-league level. So we'll move on from that division. Let's go into the Furlough None,
which is where we spent our time. We actually went for a game together.
We did. We did.
Was it the first actual season? No, I think it was the first game of the actual season where we've actually managed to go to a game together.
You could be right, actually.
We
don't go to many games together, weirdly enough. We spend a lot of time with each other, but not watching football anymore.
Yeah,
very
I've
bizarre.
seen no end of games this year already. Just
same.
caught second halves, but I don't. We went to a load of friendlies together, and then you sort of said you didn't want me along anymore.
Yeah, binned him off. But yeah, we went along to watch Stowmarket play. I decided to have a weekend off. I just wanted to have a little bit of time with my old man. We spent pre-game just catching up and whatnot. Went along to watch Stowe. Adam joined us for the game.
You spent pre-game getting harassed by people in the bar that were asking us questions.
Yeah, it was fantastic.
He's loving the fame and fortune of being on a podcast.
It was absolutely fantastic. I walked into the bar, went to go get myself a drink, and that was it. Question after question after question after question. My old man was just standing there just holding his drink for him.
He said it took ages to get to the bar just because you were talking to so many people.
I know. It just happens, doesn't it? But we saw Stowe win 2-1 Stanway. A game of two halves. I tweeted it out. Stowe were fantastic in the first half. Second half completely dropped off. Stanway were superb. Could have got themselves back into the game. But
I haven't seen that
very weird
defensive resilience in that manner from Stowe.
No.
This season. So naturally, every time Stanway went forward, which was very frequently in the second half, I was kind of just expecting a goal, which is kind of like last season. There were these moments watching Stowe where you'd go, "Oh, goal," and one would happen.
Yeah, very true.
That did happen. Whereas that didn't happen. And at one point, I was crouched down with my head on my hands because it was right near the final whistle. Free kick.
Yeah, you were. That was quite funny.
Free kick got blown up, and I was like, "Oh no, this is going to be the 2-2, and we could really do with the win." But no, they held out for 2-1. But Stanway were fantastic in the second half.
Yeah, they were really impressive.
In midfield, they were so dominant.
Changed things up at half time, made a couple of tactical changes, really kind of boxed themselves into midfield, made it very, very difficult.
Categorically, they will be up there. at the end of the season. They're one of the better teams that I've seen.
Definitely. But let's go through some of the other results then. So we had on Friday night, Hadley 1, Clacton 3. So that's a good win for Clacton. Very needed. We then had Wroxham beating God Manchester 2-1. A very impressive win for Wroxham at home. Thoughts on that one?
Well, I think I said last week that God Manchester were the team to keep your eyes on because things are happening, but Wroxham are on the storm.
Yeah, they're doing very well. And they're a few games behind everybody else in the league as well. They've only lost one game this season, so they're doing very well, Wroxham. Woodbridge responded to a couple of bad defeats to win 4-1 against Thetford. Obviously, now that was what caused Danny to resign as Thetford manager.
It's a bit of a tricky one. I feel like that's a harsh game to resign after, though. Like after watching Woodbridge the other week, I know I saw them get beat comprehensively, but they're not a bad team at all.
No, but they needed that win. They responded, a 4-1 victory.
We say that, they needed that win. Were they going to get that win away to Woodbridge?
No, I meant
Woodbridge.
Good win for Woodbridge.
I was going to say that, because Thetford...
no, that would be very harsh if I suggested that.
Thetford clearly did need a win, but that wasn't the week where they're going to find it.
No, definitely not. Other results in this one: Witton beat Mildenhall 2-0, a good win for Witton.
That's a hell of a result.
Moves them up to 11th in the table. Walsham the Willows losing 2-0 to Bramtham Athletic. Poor Walsham.
2 seasons ago, they were right up the top of the league.
Mad.
Dropped off a bit at the back end of last season and have not got going this season.
But they have got a lot of games in hand, so there's no need to panic.
They can't play at home, can they, at the start of the season, because their home pitch is also a cricket pitch.
Good point. Very good point. Needham Market using their facilities to their advantage, won 3-1 against Galston. A good win for those guys. We then had Kirkley and Payfield winning 4-0 against Long Melford. Swaffham getting a 1-0 win away from home against Haverhill. And Norwich United collecting a 1-1 draw against Ely. That's a very good point for Ely, considering how well Norwich are doing.
Ely as well, they're picking up some interesting points. Like, they're not very high in the table,
but they're kind of keeping themselves at an average.
Yeah, they're collecting points against the bigger hitters, which is interesting.
And they're not doing so well against the teams who you would expect them to maybe collect some points from one of those teams.
Which is a bit tricky, but my review of that week is that the league hasn't changed too much. Swaffham have done well out of it. But I kind of feel like everything went in Stowmarket's favour this week.
Yep. And other than the fact that Woodbridge won, but
Walsham, although they haven't played many games, that feels like a horrible hit.
Well, I mean, if you look at the league tables, I mean, Walsham they're second from bottom, only above Thetford. We've obviously talked about them in a bit of detail, but they've played 6 games, and it's a very kind of similar level of form to what Thetford have got in the fact that they've only won 1 and they've lost the rest.
Yep.
No draws whatsoever in there.
Goal difference is quite heavy as well, isn't it?
Yes, it is. My takeaway from the league, it's good to see Witton back in winning ways. Promised big things at the beginning of the season, and it's nice to see them just get back into a rhythm and playing quite nicely and getting some results as well, which is important.
Signed Pablo Chavez, who went from Melford to Felixstowe.
Yep.
And for some reason has only managed to last a few games despite being a quality player.
Yeah.
And then gone to Witton and he scored at the weekend.
Yeah. There you go.
Proven quality, I tell you.
That's it. I'm going to make a prediction about Stowmarket. I said to Adam I'm going to reveal it on the podcast.
Yeah,
I'm going to make it.
You refused to tell me.
Don't
keep me hanging.
I'm going to keep you hanging right to the end. Let's move on to the First Division North because we are rapidly going towards the hour mark.
Again?
We wrap it on, mate. So a lot of these games were to do with the Suffolk Senior Cup. If we have a look at who didn't play, Norwich CBS collecting another win, this time 5-0 against Widgebridge St Mary, which you would kind of expect that result. But that's a great win for Norwich, takes them up to 10th in the table. Kings Lynn Town Reserves beating Sheringham 6-3. Thoughts on that?
Oh my word.
That's a massive result.
I just pulled a bit of a face when I saw that, and then I realised anyone listening is probably not going to be able to see that face.
That's Kings Lynn's first win of the season.
Yeah, and Sheringham were running really well.
They were.
Both of those results are massive.
Yeah.
CBS having that fixture at that time, key. Yeah. But then, I'd like to have seen that Sheringham game to see what on earth actually happened.
Yeah. Great Yarmouth lost again this weekend. This time 1-0 to March Town. Although March are doing quite well at the moment,
but
that's
still Yarmouth need to pick up the pace.
They really, really do. Downham drew 1-1 with Mulbarton in the first versus fourth Galactico Cash of the Titans. That's a fantastic draw for Mulbarton.
Decent Ipswich.
Yeah, love that.
Would be absolutely loving that.
Absolutely love that.
They couldn't have got anything better.
So yeah, those are the results from the First Division North. So many teams, like we've got some teams who have played 6, some who have played 10. It will even itself out eventually.
The league needs to sort out its fixture schedule.
Yeah,
it really
but that's a big win. No games taking place in the SIL Senior Division, so we drop down to Division 1. We've got Kesgrave getting a very impressive 3-2 win against Sporting 87. That's a big result for those guys.
Yeah.
We then got Halesworth, who continue to take this league by storm, got promoted, have now won 4 out of 4. They beat Coddenham 6-0. Another massive
This
win.
league loves the goals.
It does, and that now takes Halesworth goal difference up to plus 14 after 4 games. Freaking mental.
Oh my word.
When Haston beating Grunsborough 4-2, that's a big win. First win for When Hasting of the season. Ransom keeping pace with Halesworth, 4 wins out of 4, but they collected again 1-0 win over Bacton. Sometimes those wins are more impressive than the heavy ones, where you're grinding out performance and getting a result.
4-4 is a great
start.
Great
both teams have started off this season amazingly well. We then got Southwold and Medlesham drawing 0-0, Stanton 2-2 against Wickham Market, and Stowe Falcons and Barham collecting a point each. Coddenham yet to pick up a point in this division.
That's a good point for Falcons.
Yeah, very good point. Right. Well, that's the first game of the season.
Oh.
First game of the season. For some reason, I don't know why. Someone explained to me why, but Stowe Falcons, that's their first game. Other teams have already played 4.
Oh.
It just, again, another thing, why are fixtures out when they are?
I was going to say, with the league positions where they are, like Falcons getting that draw is
mad, isn't it? We move down into Division 2. Some great results in here. Bedwicksworth continuing to do amazingly well. They beat AFC Yorkshire 7-2. Cockfield getting a 3-1 win against Saxmundham Sports. That's a great win for them. Ipswich Athletic losing 3-0 against Branford Road Old Boys. Curtin Athletic losing 3-0 to Tattingstone. Tattingstone keep up pace with Beckfield. 3 wins out of 3. Perfect results for those guys. Ufford 6-2 against Somersham. Jesus. Wolferston 4-1 win against Stonham Aspel. A lot of teams who are on 0 points. If you look at the league table, 9th to 14th are on 0. Very odd division.
That's a really bizarre start.
That's mad.
Some big goal differences up top as well in that one, isn't there?
Yeah, plus 15 for Bedricks and plus 11 for Tattingstone.
And that's off 3 games?
Yeah, that's crazy.
Plus 15 off 3 games is ridiculous.
That's it.
You're going to be expecting big things.
Yeah. And then Division 3, we've got a 1-1 draw against Elmswell and Melton, 1-1 draw against Ipswich Exiles and Kesgrave Kestrels, 1-1 Ockald and Bardwell.
Loving the draws this week, boys.
Yes, 2-2 Witton and Walton. And the only win coming for Witnesham Wasps, 3-0 against Hope Church. And they keep up their 100% record, 2 wins out of 2. So those are the results from this weekend's games. For me, nice to see Norwich CBS collecting another win. That's very important after a particularly shaky start. Mostly this weekend's fixtures were dominated at the local level by the Suffolk Senior Cup.
Yeah.
Big results from those games. We've already talked a little bit about those. Your kind of performance of the week, thoughts of the week from the divisional games?
Obviously, at Furlough None level, I'm pulling out Witton.
Yeah, getting a good win. Very good win.
I know it's early, but that's quite a damaging result for Mildenhall, who started to pick up some pace.
Yeah.
And get a bit of momentum
together.
And it's appearing like in the lower leagues of the SIL, the teams at the top of the league, I know it's early days, but it feels like they're building up a big head of steam already.
Yeah.
Across all of the leagues, we're seeing teams at the top with enormous goal differences.
True, very true.
Which is
it's happening. It's happening at every level, isn't it?
Yeah, and I don't want to pick out any particular team because there's a few of them doing it. But I mentioned 2 weeks ago how the scores were quite high.
Yeah,
and I kind of thought it was just a one-off early season thing, but it's continued.
Yeah,
we're seeing margins and swings of 4s and 5s in a lot of games.
Yeah.
Will they be able to keep up that pace? If they do, some of the games like mid-season are going to be pretty electric.
Yeah, and some of the leagues are going to be over very, very quickly as well.
Yes, Christmas time, like people will be like fighting for a huge gap, and that's it.
Yeah, that's it. This is it.
So, yeah, let's see.
Obviously, from a neutral perspective, we don't want to see those kind of things happening. But I kind of expected it with the SL lower levels because there was such a massive restructure of the leagues. You kind of thought it was bound to happen with some teams. But
is there an argument
it is still early.
Is there an argument to be made there that there may still be teams that are a little bit out of place for the next season or two?
Could well be, and teams kind of struggle to get to find their feet, work out where they are as a club, and then move on.
There's something to keep an eye on, I think.
Yeah, definitely. But some big results coming out from this week's. What was your pick of the week? Pick of the weekend's fixtures. Let us know down in the comment section. I'm gonna leave you with my prediction from the Stowmarket game.
Oh, I've been waiting for this for days.
This is my final thought, and we're going to wrap up the podcast with this. Are you ready? Are you ready?
I'm on the edge of my seat.
Ready? And this is not Stowmarket bias. I genuinely believe this could be true, and it's contrary to what we talked about during the game. I think Stoke could go unbeaten this season.
Flip, James. That's a big shout.
Yeah, I know. From what I've seen. And Saturday's performance confirmed it. When they had to, they were great defensively at large points in the game. And that performance, as I spoke to somebody from Stowmarket in the clubhouse afterwards, I'm not going to name, I spoke to him afterwards, that result last season did not happen.
Yeah,
they would have lost that game.
I would 100%
hands down
agree with it.
I think they're going to go unbeaten.
I can't see a club at that level going unbeaten, personally.
Do you reckon?
Because there's too many good teams out there. And the reason why I think you've made an enormous call, and we could be having a real good laugh next week, is that we've got Norwich United this week.
Well,
and they're going to be up for it. But
all you have to do is get a draw to remain unbeaten, Adam.
I genuinely thought we were going to lose against Woodbridge. I'm going to come out and say that.
Really?
I thought we were going to be in for a really tricky game.
Yeah.
And I was made to look very silly when I turned up at half time and said, what's the score? And they said 4-0, and I accused everybody of lying. So I'd love to see it happen.
Obviously, from a Stoke perspective, you would love to.
But
I'm honestly thinking about it with my footballing hat on, not my Stoke cap. I've taken that off, but I genuinely mean that. I can't. I think they could do it.
Is that based on the quality that you saw within the squad, or just
based on the games I've seen?
Yeah.
Just based on the fact that I've seen them destroy teams, I've seen them go up the gears when they have to in games and win comfortably, and I've seen them grind out results.
Yeah.
I think they could do it, but it's contrary to what we talked about. We had a discussion during the game, and Rick Andrews spoke about it on BBC Suffolk.
Yeah,
where he said that he thinks that every team at the top of that division is going to lose 7 or 8 games. So it goes completely against what I've just said.
Yeah, and it is so tight. And the more games I'm watching, the more I realise that the quality of the league has gone up again, and
which is great.
Yeah, it's really good.
Great to see.
And teams that came at us a couple of seasons ago that were really good have lost a few players, and then you watch some of the new ones that are coming and you think, flipping heck, like they're amazing. Like you look at players and you watch the way that they just spread the ball and stuff. Like you don't have to lose you don't have to lose a game as a fan to appreciate a good performance in the other team.
No,
it's quite possible to win by a reasonable margin and turn around and say, do you know what, they were amazing, and I'm still coming away and seeing players that I think could really add something to any team.
Yeah, definitely.
It's really good to see.
Definitely. I know that somebody's going to be snipping that last bit out, and the moment Stowe lose, I'm going to have that sent back to me with like a laughing.
And do you know what? If it happens,
whatever.
It's one of those things. It's just
whatever. It's a mad prediction, but I'm going with it. But anyway, Adam,
it's brave.
It's been a pleasure as always. Appreciate it, mate. If you guys are new around here, make sure you hit the subscribe button. If you've enjoyed the podcast, leave it a like. And also, more importantly, leave your comments so that we can react to other questions and other talking points. If you've enjoyed any of the topics that we've discussed, leave us your thoughts on it. Leave us your questions for next time. And all of the other ways you can listen to the podcast will be in the link in the description below. So we will mention all of those. So thank you very much for taking the time to either watch or listen to us. Very much appreciated. And until next time, as always,
adios.
Adios.